Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 16th Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Clerk Boak, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Cost. Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Carter.
Here.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Present.
Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spatafor. Councilmember Garza.
Here.
8 members present.
All right, thank you. We are to the December 2nd minutes. Vice President Hussein.
Sure, I would move the December 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we are to public comment on agenda items. If there's anybody from the public that would like to come up and address council, you will have 3 minutes to speak, but please state your name for the record.
My name is Barbara Lawrence, and I'm here as a member of the Fire Board Commission, and I'm here to support Chief Sturdivant when he talks to you in a few minutes in support of the SAFER grant. Recently, the Fire Board completed their annual report to the mayor. It was composed by our chair, Steve Purchase, who is unable to be with us this evening. But I wanted to share with you what I thought was a compelling statement by our chair, Steve Purchase. He says, LFD continues to up its game across the organization. Fire administration is providing clear leadership. Training is moving quickly to prepare new recruit classes. Prevention is now fully staffed with qualified fire inspectors. Logistics has launched new programs to better track inventory. Emergency management has taken a proactive approach to update emergency response plans. EMS supports some of the busiest ambulances in the country. The fire department has not missed a call in spite of almost a 6% increase in calls. So I'd like you to keep this information in mind when you listen to the chief this evening. As you know, he's been with us for a little over a year after a series of interim appointments. He is a true professional, and the fire board stands behind him. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment? Anything from online? No online registered to speak, so not seeing any more public comment, we will move on down the agenda. We are to presentation B, ad hoc audit committee report, defined audit plan. Councilman Spatafor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for granting me the appointment to serve as chair of the ad hoc committee on audit. The report in front of you is rather brief, but it did take the when did we start working on that? When we hired a new internal auditor. So it's been a few months that we started doing this work. But we had Mr. Randall come in and kind of evaluate the departments, the cost centers, and the work that would be involved with actually going through what is charter required for the audit. So our first meeting was spent focusing on what the requirements of the internal auditor were and what an internal auditor does. And we had Mr. Randall, who is by all accounts an expert in that field, speak to us about experiences that he's had in the past as auditor, what internal auditors do, provided us with resources from, I'll miss the names of the associations and you can correct me, but for lack of better terms, the internal auditors associations, to help us find out best practices and things like that. So what you have in front of us, though, is the charge that was issued by your resolution, which is an audit plan for 2025. And we have looked at sort of the language of our laws and decided that the 2025 plan will be for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, and this concludes in June. And the recommendations that you will see tonight for referral to the Committee on Operations is the resolution amending the City Council's permanent rules to create a permanent Committee on Audit, which would require an audit plan be filed with the City Council every June in time to start the budget year. So we're lining this sample audit plan up with the fiscal year and that recommendation that will be the next council, the next session of this council's job to adopt or alter. So you'll see here that Mr. Randall has identified December, January, February, March, April, May, and June. The payrolls and invoices and processes and departments that he's going to focus on. We did not ask him to wait to start his work until this was approved, because whether this was the final plan or not, the work he was going to do was going to be valuable regardless. So I believe he started already on the December plan. But I can have him walk through this a little bit more if you want, but it is rather detailed, and we are planning, we've already scheduled out the resolution you developed putting this committee together expired next year. So this committee, we anticipate, will carry through the next leadership, regardless of who's in your chair, will carry through, and we have set our schedule to be the Monday of the last council meeting of the month to get a status report, so that at the first meeting of the month, the next month, we can report back to council on any audit findings or audit issues that the internal auditor has found, and maybe there will be none. So let's hope for that. So that's the tentative schedule for the next 6.5 months. And I will turn it over to Mr. Randall with your permission to add anything I've missed or add a little color if there's anything else.
Thank you.
It's a very exciting topic, so.
Thank you, Councilmember Spatafor. I'll try to keep it brief. The professional organization is the Institute of Internal Auditors, IIA. And in that, I was considering what significant control risks are at the city. And recently, we are implementing the BS&A accounting system. In addition to accounting, they've started implementing it in the timekeeping as well for payroll. Considering that, we chose the subjects of the invoices and payrolls and expense report side to start auditing those controls. I have begun on the invoice side and expense reports. However, the payroll is still just being implemented, so I probably won't get any selections in this month. But they'll roll forward. There isn't a lot of them. And we allocated the selections out to prior year's budget expectations for each department, and allocated selections out for more or less the large departments out there, and left a smattering of others to make sure we hit the other departments as well. This is sort of an ongoing budget or plan for the next 6 months with, like Councilmember Spatafor said, a monthly update, and then at the year end, I would have a summary report of this and conclude this audit, and then we would be able to move on to next year with a whole new audit plan. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for either Councilman Spatafor or Mr. Randall? Councilman Cost.
Thank you, President Garza. So with this internal auditor ad hoc committee, will council members still be able to approach Charles and ask for individual things to be audited?
Yeah, what we, I think, experienced in the past was there was, I won't say never, but in recent memory, we did not have an audit plan to accomplish the charter requirements of the internal auditor. So I believe the goal was to build a framework that work doesn't get lost in the shuffle of the day-to-day as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, any additional questions or comments?
I would ask, I guess, for a motion to place this on file.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Any additional comments, questions? Seeing none. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Councilman Spatafor.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I also want to thank council members Palavanaglou and Carter for their work on this. It was we made it work. It was outside of the normal council schedule, and Mr. Randall as well for bringing his expertise to the committee. We didn't have a lot of people attend that committee, but we did have a lot of good conversation and really dove into the internal auditor, because I think that can be a mystery to some of us if we're not familiar with that work. So appreciate the efforts.
Thank you. All right, moving down to discussion action items. We have a C, resolution grant acceptance, staffing for adequate fire emergency response. That's a SAFER grant for hiring additional firefighters discharged from Committee on Ways and Means. That will go to you, Councilman Spatafor.
Sure. First, I'll move the resolution for the grant acceptance, and then I will tell you why it's in front of us. We had, there was some paperwork issue in the committee, and this is a very important grant that involves over $4 million with 15 firefighters for 3 years, and we did not want to waylay it over the holiday break. So we discharged it from committee. The electronic packet was correct in Laserfiche, but the paper packet was not, so we did not have the accurate information. The grant form in front of us was about tree trimming, and we thought $4 million was quite a bit of money to spend on tree trimming and still end up with stumps. So we discharged it so that the chief could be here this evening to explain to us what the SAFER grant was actually about. So I'm going to stop talking and, with your permission, turn it over to the chief.
Sure. Chief Sturtevant.
Good evening, Committee of the Whole. Yes, we applied for.
Is your microphone?
Is it? Can you hear me?
Yep.
How's that? Yeah, we applied for this grant back in 2023, and SAFER is an acronym for Staffing for Adequate Fire Emergency Response, and it is forwarded through the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA, and it provides funding for staffing for career volunteer paid fire departments. And we put together a plan with my leadership team on a strategic approach to address our staffing challenges that would allow us to not only take advantage of the grant opportunity, but to also intermingle, if you will, the value we would get out of the grant along with current employees prior to discharge and/or retirement. Now, the caveat for the grant is that the period of performance is 36 months, 3 years. Well, actually, it's 24 months with a 1-year extension that is always approved. And the caveat is that during that 36-month period of performance, we have to absorb these positions into our organization or lay them off. Based on our seniority projections, we have more than enough room from an attrition standpoint between now and 2028 to absorb these 15 positions into the organization. The period of performance does not kick off until the first week of March 2025, so we have up until March of 2028 to absorb. We've already begun the hiring process with some written testing. This week we are going through virtual interviews because we did attract some candidates from around the country. And what we're looking to do is to continue our work with HR. So from a timing standpoint, these 15 candidates are ready to move into the Lansing Fire Department during that first week of the period of performance. We are excited for this grant. As you are aware, our call volume is pushing 30,000 calls a year now. 80% of that is EMS related. There is some review taking place with the Tri-County EMS Advisory Board that possibly will allow us to stand up basic life support ambulances in conjunction with the advanced life support ambulances that we currently have. Our data and statistics reflect that about half of our EMS call volume is BLS related. So this will be a huge lift to be more efficient with our resources and our staffing as compared to where we are today. So we're excited about this $4.3 million from the federal government. There is no match. As long as we can absorb these 15 positions into the organization, we're good to go, and we're well on our way to making this happen, and just want to make sure that we've got support of the council. We do have the support from the mayor's office, the mayor's staff, and again, the department is very excited about this hiring initiative.
All right. That is very good. Obviously, I can't speak for council, but I'm super excited about this. Is this just a one-time grant, or is there opportunities in the future to apply for the SAFER?
This is a one-time for this particular fiscal year.
Okay.
But every year, Congress goes through the appropriation of monies that they outline for the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA as it relates to not only the SAFER grant, but there's an additional grant from FEMA and DHS that is termed AFG grant, which is Assistance to Firefighter Grant. And that's usually a set aside for tools and equipment and apparatus. So SAFER is strictly for personnel, AFG is for tools, equipment, apparatus. We're hoping that with the new administration at the federal level that'll be in place on the 20th of January, that these monies won't be significantly cut to where there will not be opportunity in the future.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Do you have anything additional you'd like to add, Councilman Spatafor?
No, just
Okay.
thank you.
Do we have any additional comments or questions from council? All right, seeing none. Thank you. I think that speaks volumes, hopefully, that we all are very supportive of the fire department and everything that you guys do. So thanks for being here and offering your information of what this grant is exactly.
Thank you so much for your support. Really
you.
appreciate it.
And then we do have a proper motion from Councilman Spatafor. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. 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 All those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, moving down to Resolution D, outside legal counsel, Whites and Luxembourg, PC, to represent the city in the matter of City of Lansing versus Purdue Farm. City Attorney Greg Vanker.
Thank you. I think that the title, it was mistitled when it was received at some point. Whites Luxembourg currently represents us in the opioid litigation that is styled on all of our documents as City of Lansing versus Purdue Pharma et al. They are, Whites Luxembourg specializes in mass tort litigation, which is what this is. It's kind of like class action litigation, but it's not quite class action. It's where everybody has a very similar claim and the courts take them all together instead of declaring them as a class. I won't get into how that works because it's exceedingly boring. But there is also litigation afoot regarding insulin pricing over the last, well, long period of time. And without getting into the gritty details of that, it is an allegation that there was essentially price fixing through silent action by the primary manufacturers of insulin and also by the pharmacy benefits management companies that would get contracted by entities like the City of Lansing to purchase insulin at large volumes for large groups of people that need insulin. Employees of the city, employees of other entities. In any event, we've done the work on our end at HR and with actuarial work from outside actuaries and determined that the city does have a decent claim if the allegations are true. There's an amount of money that is worth getting involved. I will note that we took a similar risk, and it's a pretty low threshold risk on our end, but we took a similar risk when we joined in with Whites Luxembourg to represent us in the opioid litigation. That has paid off pretty well. I think this council has received multiple rounds of money as supplemental appropriations. We're hoping to have a similar outcome with the insulin pricing litigation, but we need to hop in. And we have a good relationship with Whites Luxembourg through the opioid litigation. Paul Novak, who was a former council member and a former city attorney, is one of the principal attorneys in that litigation as well. And I've already spoken with him about this one. If approved, we would be filing a complaint real fast, which is good because there's a sort of early, mid-January deadline to get in. So anyway, that's the background behind that. It would be a limited appointment onto approved outside counsel for this additional purpose. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Okay, do we have any questions for our city attorney? Is this an extra added cost to the city?
No.
Okay. I guess my other question would be is if there's a lawsuit, in fact, and the city receives money, where does that money go exactly?
It depends on if there are typically settlements of this type get limitations on how the funds can be spent. So it'd be received by the council subject to certain limitations. So like with the opioid litigation, it had to go towards mitigating the costs related to opioid use and abuse within the community. So some of that money went to HRCS, some of it internally, it got sent to HRCS, it got sent to LPD, LFD, and then our office had to review any contracts for services that were acquired with that money to make sure that it met the requirements of the settlement documents. Here, almost all of it would likely go back to general funds to offset the expenditure of money that, because we are self-insured for most prescription coverage, it's going to go back into general fund and get allocated towards that cost within the city internally. So purchase of prescription drugs, for example.
Okay. Do we have any additional questions or comments for our city attorney? Councilman Brown.
Thank you, President Garza. I would just like to say on the record that this is an important cause and worth fighting for. So thank you for all of the work being done in this area. And hopefully it will, if we have been done injustice, that we'll be able to recoup those losses and the impact on the people's lives in our community. So thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any additional comments or questions from council? Seeing none, Vice President Hussein.
Yep, I'd move the resolution.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Okay, moving down, discussion action item E. That's a resolution for the transformation of Brownfield number 87, New Vision Lansing, multiple addresses. So what we're looking for, what we're doing today is to approve this resolution during committee of the whole, and then pass for final passage this evening at council. But with that, I would like the city attorney to please speak on the amendment to this
Yes.
resolution.
Thank you. There is I guess it's an amended resolution. The resolution that was submitted initially is very similar to the resolution that we use for approval of brownfield plans. And from the city's perspective, this brownfield plan is very similar to others because the capture of local taxes is fundamentally the same. However, the statutory section in Act 381, which is the Brownfield Redevelopment Act, for transformational brownfields is more specific, and it calls for a few more details and conclusions by the council. In conversations with the attorney for the developer last week, he had proposed a couple of changes. He's worked on some of these, and more importantly, getting that resolution of council received and accepted by the MEDC and the Michigan Strategic Fund, which is the final layer of approval. And he recommended changes. I reviewed those and approved those, and I would recommend them to this council as well. It makes our resolution cleaner and easier to be received at the final step, and not having somebody coming back and asking us to change it desperately for some reason.
Perfect, okay. Do we have any additional questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, Brian, sorry, Councilman Jackson.
So, since this is the resolution, right, to move it to the council, and I see we have people here, and I know I had one question before that I was going to ask one of the attorneys, I think it was these attorneys, to look into, and out of the however many, is it 1,000 plus residential units, some workforce, some not, some all this, some of that, but none of Section 8, none of like a fixed source income. And did you see, I know you guys are in Michigan, the lame duck bill that says, that might be for passage, it is for passage whether it's signed, that basically says that a property owner that has, a landowner that has 5 or more units cannot discriminate against where a person's money is coming from. For example, Section 8. So that might be a law. And if anybody looked into that for me.
If one of you guys want to come to the microphone, try to answer that.
First of all, we don't discriminate against
Paul,
anybody.
could you speak?
Oh, I'm sorry.
State your
I
name for the
apologize.
record.
Paul Gentilozzi, New Vision Lansing. We don't discriminate against anybody or where their money comes from. Totally irrelevant to us. The Missing Middle program allows the tenant to pay up to 30% of their gross income, their annual wage income. So we have missing middle units that would allow someone that makes 80% of the aggregate mean income in the county to have a unit that qualifies at 30% of their wage. You're talking about LIHTC units, I assume, which would be the 30% to 60% category. And the rules there are the same. The rent is just less expensive. And when you get into subsidized units where there's a voucher or other forms of supplemental income, if someone had the income with a voucher to get to 80%, we'll take them.
Okay, I appreciate that. So you're saying, because one, there are affirmative steps that
Sure.
has to be taken to even accept a voucher.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I met with the Lansing Housing Commission folks after your question the last time to find out what we could do. And their problem is that they don't have enough money. They don't have enough voucher funds
well,
to do more
just
units.
push back a little bit, because are you saying a person with approximately $1,200, $1,300 couldn't go to any of these places?
Any of ours? Yeah, we would have units in that eligible category.
Okay, so
So-
there are vouchers that are
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, if they bring, if they can bring either the wages or the voucher, we're fine.
And a combination.
Yeah,
So then, because then you would have to take the affirmative steps to accept that. And
Yes.
go through the federal inspection
right.
as well as the
Yep.
city.
Yeah, that's another whole process, but we're willing to do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council? Seeing none, Vice President Hussein.
Sure, I would move the Transformational Brownfield Plan 87 resolution.
Okay, thank you. We have a proper motion in place. Any additional comments? Vice President, or I'm sorry, Councilman Spatafor.
Just wanted to say, I want to thank everybody who has been available to me to discuss this. This is a huge commitment we're making, I think, as a body and as a city. There's a few more steps at the state, and then there's the whole building the things that are in front of us situation that's going to take a bit. But everyone in the city, I've appreciated the city attorney's office, the mayor's office, Mr. Gentilozzi and his team, and even some fellow members of council helping me sort through some of the questions I've had on this. So I don't have a lot to say tonight, but I do appreciate the work that's gone into getting to this point. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Any additional comments? Councilman Cost.
Thank you, President Garza. I just want to thank Paul and his team for picking up the phone and immediately hitting my concerns with Old Town. Agreeing to let me into some of their meetings later on down the road, being willing to meet with OTCA last week. Councilman Brown was there, and to apologize to them for not meeting with them sooner and trying to really work with the community on this project. It's very much appreciated. It's seen, and I look forward to these projects being done. So thank you for reaching out to the community. It's appreciated.
Okay, any additional comments from council? Vice President Hussein.
Yeah, just very quickly, I guess I'll echo those sentiments. I think this development team has been fantastic, and I certainly appreciate the accessibility. I think our EDC, I think our city attorney's office, administration, I think everybody worked incredibly hard, and this is a massive, massive investment in the city of Lansing. I think you guys referenced the fact that this is the largest private, non-automotive investment in the city of Lansing, and I truly believe that this will be transformational about 40 months from now. So certainly appreciate everything that you guys have done. I know that there's some heartburn over potentially a fifth location in a certain spot. I think it would be tremendous for that particular area, but as somebody that is not part of that neighborhood, I will say as the Southwest Lansing representative, we have lots of contiguous land in Southwest Lansing. Incredibly vibrant. I think I had all the markers for commercial viability, residential viability, so we would welcome you with open arms, folks. No, but in all seriousness, hats off to you guys. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I too would like to say I really appreciate the transparency from your group, the willingness to meet with everybody that's reached out. This is truly a transformational, huge investment for our city of Lansing, and I can't imagine anybody being opposed to this. So I'm looking forward to the work, the shovels in the ground, seeing our local economy get boost because of these 5 large projects. Would you like to say something?
Well, the shovel in the ground thing, we've got a schedule that'll be going out to everybody tomorrow, and we go to bid packages in 2 weeks, and we start demolition on the tower site by mid-January, and we'll have a hole in the ground within 30 days after that. So we're more excited than anyone to start construction. So,
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, Vice President Hussein. Oh, we already moved it. Okay. We do.
But there wasn't a vote, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we do have a proper motion in place. Are there any additional comments? Seeing no additional comments. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, and with that, we are to closed session. Vice President Hussein.
Sure. Pursuant to MCL 15.26E, City Council will recess into closed session to consult with the city attorney in connection with the following specific pending litigation. An open meeting will have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the City of Lansing concerning these cases. Atkinson et al. Versus City of Lansing et al. Blackman versus Vaughn Bertley. People of City of Lansing versus Miggins. City of Lansing et al. Versus Purdue Pharma et al. City of Lansing versus Woodside Apartments Owner LLC. Davis versus the City of Lansing et al. Davis et al. Versus the City of Lansing. Fisher versus the City of Lansing. Fitzpatrick versus City of Lansing et al. Harkin versus City of Lansing. Hockinson versus City of Lansing et al. Hulan versus City of Lansing et al. Lee and City of Lansing. OPV Partners LLC versus City of Lansing et al. Romero versus City of Lansing et al. Ward versus City of Lansing et al. And Willis versus City of Lansing et al.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Hussein. It's a roll call vote. Clerk Bolt, please call the roll.
Councilmember Hussein? Yes. Councilmember Cost? Yes. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter? Yes. Councilmember Pelli-Van Yes. Councilmember Jackson? Yes. Councilmember Spatafor? No. Councilmember Garza?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-1.
All right, thank you. We are recessed into closed session. Committee of the Whole reconvene, and with no further business, we are adjourned till 7 p.m. for our city council meeting.